Hi, Andrew from SACS. Are surgeons arrogant? Well, I'm being asked this question quite a bit at the moment, largely because here in Australia we've had some very high-profile cases of senior clinicians, such as surgeons, acting in a way that has not been good for relationships or for patient outcomes. So firstly, let's talk about what arrogance is. This is the Leon Ashton HEXACO model of personality, and arrogance is a personality characteristic. It's part of this factor here called honesty-humility. And honesty-humility is very important. Honesty-humility is the tendency to be honest, truthful, and not arrogant. Now you might wonder, what's the relationship between arrogance and honesty? Well, if you've ever met an arrogant person, they tend not to feel that the rules apply to them, but also they may tend to consider themselves much more important than other people. And certainly that's been a hallmark of some behaviours of people who've acted inappropriately. And you see that this honesty-humility factor is made up of four facets. Those are the four smaller things that make up the larger thing of the factor. And sincerity, which is about being truthful; fairness, which is about being fair and equitable; greed avoidance is about not being greedy; and modesty is about not being arrogant. So literally, modesty means not arrogant. Now, when a person is low in honesty, humility overall, they go to jail more often, they tend to commit more crimes, they tend to bully and harass and do those sorts of negative things. So it is possible to check out whether somebody's arrogant or not. Another important thing for any role is the question of agreeableness. Agreeableness is things like forgiveness, gentleness, flexibility, which means I don't have to have things all my own way, and patience. And patience literally means I am not angry. So if a person is arrogant, which means that they are low in honesty, humility, but particularly in that facet of modesty, and they're also angry, well, you can see the threat of that combination. An angry, arrogant person is somebody who might act in a very ill-advised fashion. Another key thing for any role, and high-pressure roles like surgery is certainly an example of this, it's a thing called self-control. Low self-control has been shown to be an indicator of dangerous behaviours in a range of different roles. Strong personality markers exist for this. And the personality marker that's easiest is the question of conscientiousness. And you see in amongst conscientiousness there's this element of prudence. So in a way, the person who's least likely to do these negative things is somebody who's honest, truthful, not arrogant, not an angry person, but in addition has high levels of prudence, which means that they can act in a way other than impulsively, thoughtfully. So you can see that a HEXACO personality is an indicator of positive and negative behaviours. Now that takes us back to the original question of, are surgeons arrogant? Very, very little research in the open research world on this topic. Also, when we went back to our database and we've psych tested thousands of people for hospitals, we could find very few surgeons that were identified in that database, certainly not a large enough number to draw conclusions from. So that says that surgeons are not very often psych tested on the way in to big hospitals, and I think that's a risk that should be addressed. But as well as that, are surgeons arrogant? Frankly, I doubt that an entire population or an entire occupational category can be characterised in that way. When we've looked at that in the past, it's very, very rare to find a negative characteristic like that that's across the board. And in fact, I would imagine that it's probably not very high for the entire population. Certainly the few surgeons that we have psych tested looked pretty much like you would expect of a highly trained professional. So I don't think surgeons are arrogant per se, but I think that it's a really good idea to test surgeons to see whether they're arrogant or not, or have some of the other negative and positive characteristics that are important for success at work. And if you'd like to try psych testing to improve the corporate culture of your organisation, use this QR code. If this content is helpful to you, please like and subscribe.